I want to thank you guys for joining me for this episode of Corona Chronicles Live. I'm really excited to have my next guest, Howie, here. That's his nickname that I say. I actually met him at a BNI event. He is a member of BNI. So I came as a visitor and I have just been smitten with him ever since. We talk occasionally. And before we get into our interview, I want to give him the opportunity to introduce himself.
Yeah. So my name's Howard Gershman. Anybody who knows me more than 5 minutes, I become Howie. So, which I really like, right? And I've been Howie since I was a kid, right? So how can you change your name and try to be something you're really not? So it's really a lot of fun to be able to do that. Yeah, I live in the Hudson Valley area in New York, a little north of New York City. Very nice here. It's also cold now. I don't know where you are, Lachelle, but it's a little chilly this time of year.
Yeah.
I actually have a degree in computer science. So worked in corporate America, did all that kind of computer stuff, when I was a little bit younger. Well, at that time, computers filled an entire room and couldn't do what your iPhone can do now. It's pretty crazy the way that stuff has evolved. Yeah. Over time, I got kind of get antsy, wanted to do something different. So I actually kind of transitioned out of that into a food service business. I actually had two food service businesses, which was okay. The fact that I didn't know anything about business, that never stopped me from doing anything before. I don't know how to cook. I can sort of keep myself from starving, but I had a partner and he was a chef, and that really, so he did all the food stuff. I did all the front stuff, the business stuff I thought I knew about, but I really didn't know anything about. And it kind of worked out okay, So we were making some money. The problem with food service business, and I don't know if you know anybody who's in the food service business or you've done anything.
Well, I used to be a waitress, so yeah, I got to see one side. Yeah.
So you see that sort of side. The issue is, though, it's not very profitable. It's tough to make a living at it. So
yeah,
right. So you, as the waitress, you made, I don't know how much money you made, but you made whatever you made, right?
Yeah.
The owner likely made less than you.
Wow. Yeah.
Because of the way that stuff works. In any case, so I was really kind of looking for something else to do, and the food service business we were in was really very seasonal. So you're sitting around waiting for the phone to ring, or even being overt and trying to get the phone to ring and doing marketing, all that kind of stuff. But we were actually doing catering, off-premise catering, weddings and company picnics, stuff like that. Well, in New York, nobody's doing a wedding outside in January. Right. So, and the other issue is in the summer, right? Everybody wants a party on a Saturday in the summer. Right. That would make sense. Well, we had just so much capacity to make food and the serving staff and all this, right? So in the summer months, from April to October, we would be filled up, literally filled up on Saturday, and literally turning business away. But we had capacity to do a wedding on Thursday, January. Nobody's doing that. You can't force people even out the. So it was a mess. And
now, what kind of food was it?
Oh, it was all kinds of food. Really good barbecues and a very big Italian area here. So a lot of Italian specialty kinds of stuff too. I'm Jewish, so we had a lot of Jewish food too, which was kind of a unique niche for that. Anyway, we had a good time. It was a lot of work, but not a lot of money. So I was kind of looking for something else to do. And And a friend of mine had introduced me to Primerica, just as an aside. I mean, I had mentioned that, I'm looking for something else. And he said, well, how about this? Look at this. And what appealed to me was that the principles that the Primerica teaches is really the basic financial stuff you should have been taught in high school. Right. What insurance is and what it's not, what investments are and what they're not, what a budget is, all that kind of stuff. And I didn't I certainly didn't learn any of that kind of stuff in school. Did you have a class in personal finance in high school?
No, I mean, and they still don't have it.
They still
Okay.
don't have that. Right?
I have a senior right now, and they now, home ec, that was
Yeah.
something that they took out, and now they're kind of adding that in. They teach not elementary, early childhood or something. So they have these
Oh.
classes where they give the kids babies, like, and they're
Oh,
really dolls,
I've heard
to
that.
teach them about that kind of stuff, but nothing about finances.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you would
yeah.
think, but yeah, no.
You would think, you would think something
Mhm.
actually useful.
Mhm. Mhm.
Not that taking care of babies isn't useful, but something
Definitely, that would help me. Okay,
you
I didn't have that class.
didn't have that class, but somehow you managed anyways. I don't know.
Right.
So yeah, so that was kind of, so I learned a little. I learned a little about finance, right, from my friend, and what I realized also reasonably quickly, actually, was that so as the big shot business owner, I had bought insurance and investments and other things that I thought was the right thing from people that I knew and trusted. Now, some were in BNI, some weren't, but that was a long time ago, which doesn't really
Okay.
matter. But so I bought these different kinds of investments, and one guy I remember saying, well, you got this business, you got all this stuff going on, you really need some life insurance because something happens to you, your family's in big trouble. So I said, okay, whatever, sign me up, whatever. So, so that was going along there. Now I go to my not my new friend, but the Primerica person who I was talking to, and he tells me about different kinds of insurances or different kinds of investments and different kinds of stuff that appealed to me more and made more sense in a logical way. Because the first guy never really explained how it all worked. Just said, here's what you need. And I said, okay. Well, it turned out that the insurance and investments that I bought from the other people was totally wrong for me. And it didn't fit the lifestyle I had and the goals that I had and that sort of thing, which was bad. That was bad enough. What was worse is when I found out how all those other products work, I found out that the products gave them the biggest commissions. So I said, oh, thank you very much. Not only did you give me the wrong thing, you're making money on it. Right. So I said, this is a big problem. So I'm a relatively smart guy. I should know these things. And if I got sort of taken in and I don't want to say screwed, but if I got misled,
right,
other people are going to be in the same boat. So this is a thing I can do. And
I love that.
Yeah, so that's been working out for quite a few years already. So that's good.
Now, and I think that's so good because, like you mentioned a number of things, like it didn't line up with your goals.
He didn't even ask me the goals, right?
Yeah. And so most people probably don't even think to ask that question. If you get somebody who approaches you, one, we don't talk a lot about finances.
Right, exactly.
And so if someone sounds like they know what's best for you, I mean, what would make you think that you need to ask about goals or, you know what I'm saying? If we all don't know. So that's a good point for you to bring up. So what type of questioning should we have for people that come to us as an advisor or different things? Because that's kind of like the first step. Once you get successful or you're making a profit, it's like, okay, I need to really find a way that I can get smarter about my money, so to speak.
Yeah. So actually,
things that we should be asking.
You should be asking. Well, not so much asking, but thinking about for yourself is what. So here's the things that I ask. So we're going to turn it around a little because I'm asking questions that people haven't even thought of for themselves. So people come as a family. So you got to. I'm trying to think of a good adjective here. Gigantic family, right? But so I ask people, what is one thing financial wise you want to get a handle on? Like what's something you don't know about or is kind of a nag or something you're just not too sure about. So we got that. Okay, we'll talk about that. Maybe it's debts. Maybe it's saving for college. Maybe it's, what things going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I say, okay, we're going to work together for a little while and move forward, and things are going to change over the next couple of years. Paint a picture of your life 5-10 years from now that will show that what decisions and things we did today actually worked. So we have a place to start. Okay, these are the things we want to talk about now. And then we have something to shoot for in the future. And then we have steps along the way. We're just making sure we're on the same track. So if things change, we can make changes in other stuff too. So.
Oh, okay, that's great. So yeah, I think that's good. So it's because so many people think, well, I've never done anything with my money, so
right.
They just like push it off onto the person who seems to be the expert, and then they still don't know anything about their money. They just think, well, I'm giving this over to somebody that I think is responsible, and a lot of times we don't even ask any questions to determine that level of responsibility, just like you mentioned with some of these other people.
Yeah. So you don't know, and you don't want to give over, total responsibility. You don't have to know the nuance and the numbers and all the concepts that we're taught in the and to do this business in the first place. But at least we should be able to explain to the client, the basics of how some of these concepts work, and make sure that they're comfortable with stuff. When we do an analysis of a family's finances, we're not saying you need this kind of stuff. We're saying here's your life on a couple of pages, a report, right? And then say, okay, we recommend you do this because if you don't do this, this could happen, or if you do this, this could happen. We want to give some scenarios and put their financial life in kind of the picture, and to make sure that the things we do, they really understand. And we're not going to sell them any kind of products or services unless I can demonstrate on paper in black and white that this is how it is now. If you keep going the way you're going now, this is what could happen, and if we make a change and do this, this is what could happen. We want to kind of lay it all out, and then we make a recommendation, and they can do it or not do it. And I don't like to see people change their mind and go away when I know that we can really help. But the way I look at it, hey, it's their life, not mine.
Right.
You make the decisions for yourself. I'm going to lay it out. You go to the doctor and doctor, I got a pain over here. The doctor says, okay, you got to do this. You got to do this. It's up to the patient to do it.
So true. I love that, because a lot of people think it's some magic pill, magically the pain's going to go away. You're going to get this formula that's going to get it done quick. Now, so for people who right now during this pandemic, they've understood the ups and downs with finances, and, they might have lost their job or had a decrease in income, but they want to go into 2021 with the new thinking on their finances. What are some small things that they can start with, maybe just, in terms of starting that conversation or beginning to practice better money management?
Yeah. So it's a good, and everybody thinks of New Year's resolutions of what to do. And we certainly came out from I was going to say kind of a mess. So like a lot of people had a lot of issues, right? But a lot of people didn't have issues, and a lot of people were doing much better in the past year. It depends on where in the economy and what kind of job and stuff you had. Either way, New Year is a new year, and things are going to be changing, in 2021 anyway. Well, here's a couple of things that we talk about, and it's really kind of a step-by-step process. It's really not complicated. It's easy to describe. It's not always easy to do because life happens. But step one is kind of decide to do something. That's the easy one. And any kind of goal. I mean, when you, in the beginning of the year, when you started the Corona Chronicles, right, you just said, I'm doing it, right?
Right.
I don't know how much thought went into it, but you certainly.
And that was it. Okay.
You just said, hey,
If
I'm
you
doing
think
it.
long, you're not going to do it. You
That's
talk
right.
yourself out of
Exactly
it.
right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So now it's really kind of a step-by-step process of kind of what to do. And here's some of the steps kind of go through. And then not necessarily in this order, but there certainly is step-by-step.
Okay.
Set a goal. Right. So now, what is that goal you want to accomplish? What is that nagging thing that you want to get a handle on now? Now, I'll say, what do I do first, right? And then, like, what do you want to do next and next? So a lot of times people might say, oh, I want to retire someday. Well, that's fine, but what is someday? What does retirement mean to you? Do you want to, do you want to sit in a rocking chair in Florida, or do you want to travel around the world, or do you want to keep working? If you enjoy what you do, then why stop? Certainly it's a good, a good way to, so we want to understand what that is. And those things can change over time too, but we got to start somewhere. Right? Some of the things that, some of the goal setting that you can do is things you want to do sooner. And then like now, maybe in a month or two, when that's the first one's under control, maybe we'll do something else, and maybe we'll do something a little bit longer. So things that are a short-term goal might be get a handle on what's going on, or and your spending. So I got a little bit more about that in a second, but the idea is let's find out where we are now. When you take a trip, right? What's your GPS do? You turn the GPS on, and what's the first thing it does? Is figures out where you are. Right.
Exactly.
All right. And so this is the same idea. When you get a handle on your finances, okay, now we know where we are, and we can make the next step. Right? And a medium term kind of goal could be, what are we going to do this week or this month? And I wouldn't want to say that you should, if you're trying to save money, never go eat out again. Yeah, we're not going to restaurants anymore ever. Well, I don't want to say that, and I don't want you to do that. Right? But maybe once less. Let's start with baby steps. Make a little bit less, and then maybe a longer term kind of a thing for maybe check your cable bill. Do you really need 1,000 channels and there's nothing to watch? Right. Things that may take a little bit longer to kind of figure out. Kind of where we're going to get a handle on that. What we're really doing in all these cases is changing habits. You've been doing whatever you're doing for a long time. It's hard to make those changes, especially when there's your family and your job and there's other things rolling around that may have a pretty big effect on you. So now, so I will say, put words in your mouth, but I'm kind of ask. I know you didn't just start out with 15 kids, right? One at a time, right? So as things move forward, you had to make changes. And Dana, have you done anything in the past, however many years, with your finances that you felt was that you made some changes along the way? Anything you did special for you to manage your own stuff?
Yes, definitely. I think the whole thing, I love the thing you bring up about the cable. There are times that we just spend money and don't even think about, what the end game is. I don't really watch TV. So my kids, we have it for them. But here recently, we have the Fire Stick or, the little thing that we're getting away from the cable because the kids know what they want to watch. So they have Disney Plus and, Netflix, and now YouTube has shows that are on there. So I think it's really looking at your habits, just like what you mentioned. If you are, subscribing to a gym membership, but you're not going.
How good is that?
Some of these different examples, right? Or, how you get these free trials. And a lot of people sign up for the free trial after X amount of days. They've already got their credit card information in there, and it just keeps on charging you. And you're not even aware of that because you're not, thinking about it. So It's just the little foxes, like I say,
That's
I get
right.
that from scripture, that
Yeah.
can make an impact.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
Mhm,
part of figuring out. Actually, that was sort of the next step. Is know your budget. And
mhm.
when the word budget, you think of the word budget, it's almost like a negative, right? It's almost like a restrictive thing, like diet. Right?
Right.
So diet is a definite negative word, but
Mhm.
everybody likes to eat. Right?
Right.
So create a spend. So make a healthy eating plan, have an
Right.
eating plan, not a diet. And budget is
Okay.
the same thing. Don't be on a budget. Have a spending plan.
Okay.
Most people have a few, so one or two or a couple sources of income, but a laundry list of things they spend money on. Those are the
So
things to
true.
pay
So
attention to.
true.
Right? How that works
Mhm.
out. And you got to think about what's a need and what's a want.
I
So,
love that. So
right. So I
this is
have,
something that we need to talk about because some people, oh, I need those new shoes,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So
That's
how do we know the difference between the
well.
need and
Here's the way I describe it: is whenever you're spending money, you can
Mhm.
either walk around if you're out, out spending money somewhere in a store, wherever you're going, or even online, whatever you're doing. When it comes times to pay, you have to think to yourself, say it out loud. If you're bold, say it out loud. Do I have to spend this money on this thing right now?
Mm.
And the idea is just stop. And it's kind of like being more mindful and paying attention to where all your money's going. And it's another habit that may take baby steps to figure out. So, what do you need to spend money on? Well,
Mhm.
need for rent and the mortgage and the car loan or gas in the car. Those kind of, right. Those things really need. Do you need the latte at Starbucks at 3 in the afternoon? Maybe not. Some people will say, yeah, but
Mhm.
maybe not. Or the shoes or whatever. So
Mhm.
those are the things to pay attention to. And it's not that I want to be restrictive about it,
Mhm.
but just if you just pay attention and think, do I really need this thing? And stop. And that'll eliminate a huge number of expenses that you never even realized you were even doing in the first place.
Mhm. One of the things that I even tell my kids is like, if they're not really good with spending plans, is thinking about, in the short term, what do they want to accomplish?
Mm-hmm.
So, when they get paid, it's like, oh, they have all this money, but it's like, thinking about what are you going to be spending your money on and doing it in advance. So, for example, I tell them get gas cards get certain cards from certain food places and, determine what you're going to spend from the very beginning. And then, because Chick-fil-A is the thing, they'll go to Chick-fil-A thousands of times in a week, and that's expensive.
Yeah.
So if they begin to get these cards and know in the beginning what they're spending, that definitely can make them say, okay, I've got $30 worth of cards. And then if they're gone in 2 or 3 days, something's wrong. You see
That's
what
right.
I'm saying?
Right. And that's actually part of the spending plan we talk about is pay yourself first. You ever hear of that?
Mhm.
And the idea, you got a little bit of money, not a little bit, you got one or two or whatever number of sources of income, right? But you got a huge number of expenses. Well, first on that list should be you.
Mhm.
Me,
Mhm.
because if you pay all the other bills, and the bills are got to get paid anyways.
Right.
But if you do, there's not going, you'll be surprised. There's not going to be a whole lot left over at the end of the month. So
So true.
one of the things we want to force people to do, or really focus on it, is an emergency fund. Just a savings account at the bank, depending on your lifestyle.
Mhm.
Could be a couple hundred, couple thousand, tens of thousands. It really depends on where your life is going, but definitely some money. So an emergency fund, well, that is like an emergency. You need new tires for your car. The heating system in your house blows up, or what? Something that you really need to spend the money right now. Have that money available. Don't
Mhm.
have to put it on the credit card and then it takes you months and months to pay it off because it was a surprise. We
Now,
want
so
no
how much
surprise.
should we have in that emergency fund?
Depends where you are in life. And I would say, and depends what the emergencies really are.
Mhm.
So I used to say, a couple $1,000, 1,000, 2,000, it wasn't a huge amount because most of the emergencies were not particularly expensive.
Right.
Now, however, or the conventional wisdom was, which I don't want to say I didn't pay attention to, but I didn't think it was as important, is several months of income. Like if you lose your job, okay, how you going to pay the bills if you don't have any money coming in, right? Well, until a year ago, jobs were pretty plentiful. You could not, it depends on what you did and where you go, but it wasn't, unemployment was really very low. And if you're relatively intelligent, you could go somewhere and work somewhere. And maybe it wasn't what you were doing before, but at least you could do something. Right? So I didn't worry about that income part. However, now you see so many people got laid off, not just laid off, but their jobs totally eliminated. And now they got to like change their careers, all kind of stuff. So I'm a little more leery about having only a couple $1,000s. Now, if you were a couple of months of incomes is a significant amount of money for a lot of people. And a lot of people are going paycheck to paycheck or even couple of paychecks to paycheck, trying to save tens of thousands of dollars is a lot of money and takes a significant amount of time, but you got to start somewhere. So even $25 a week, $100 a month, do something. I have young clients, early 20s, mid 20s, and stuff, and they will complain. I say, this is what you got to do, $50 a month, do it. And they'll complain and go, oh, I can't do it. I don't have any money. I don't want to do this either. And then I'll say, look, do it anyway. Trust me to do it. And I twist their arm and we'll set it up. The key thing is to make it automatic. So if your paycheck goes into your checking account, just move the money into the savings account and forget about it. So they'll start it up and I'll come back a couple of months later and I'll say, so how's that $50 working for you? And they'll say, it wasn't that bad, actually. It's not, it wasn't as hard as I really thought it was. And I said, good. Now we're making it 75. So I don't want to save till it hurts, but you want to make sure that they can make some progress in it. And over a couple of months, when you have $500, starting from zero, if you have $500 or something, now you say, oh, look at this. Where did this $500 come from? It's an emergency fund. It's not the latte at 3:00. So you really got to understand what it's really for. And
I like that.
It's a habit. It's a mindset. It's a thing people have to be aware of. And that's kind of the way to think about it. So most people get it most of the time. So that's always good. That's always good.
I like when it's automatic because, it really, it's something that you're intentional about and you can make up your mind, you can find $25 to stop spending somewhere else.
Yeah.
So for example, that could be, stop buying sodas at the store.
Right.
With your groceries, instead drink water for whatever,
that's right.
$25 equates to, or, hey, not driving as much, maybe you need to walk a couple places throughout the month or something instead of driving, or, go places that are closer to your home to save on gas. I mean, it's so many different ways. If you're intentional about it, you can think $25 is nothing to cut back on.
That's right. And you'd be surprised how easy, once you get started, people are really surprised at how easy it really becomes. Now, there's more things to save for than just emergencies. So we call it like short, medium, and long term of savings. So the short term is really the emergency fund.
Okay.
A medium term one would be like a vacation next year when we can finally travel again. Maybe your car is probably not the last car you will ever own.
Right.
You'll need a new car in a couple of years. Maybe we should save up for that a little bit. Maybe not the entire price of the car, but if you can make a significant dent in the price of a new car or even a used car. I have bought a few new cars in my life, but not many. Most are a couple of years old. save
Amen.
a huge amount of money by doing that. But in any case, the idea is save for something in the future, and that way you'll have the money when it comes time to actually need it. A longer term savings one would be a retirement account. So whether it's you're going to save up a lot of money and be able to just live off that money for the rest of your life, fine, if you can, if you can do that. But maybe if you just have enough to take the edge off of something, you can still work part-time, do kinds of stuff. We want people to have a comfortable retirement that's important to them. And you decide what your retirement is. I'm not going to decide. I want whatever you want. But let's be realistic about what those things are going to cost when it comes time to actually use them. That's kind of the idea. That's the idea.
Now, that's a good point about saving for vacations, because that's the aha. Most people are like, I'm just going to charge it. Who's thinking about saving in advance for vacation? So I think that is really a game changer right there.
And it's important. It's important to go on vacation. Right? If you're just working the whole time, and maybe you get a couple hours on a weekend to sit by yourself. I don't know how you ever done that, but
no.
Right? It's important to really get away and unwind. And
yes.
And you got to really kind of save for that too. So I say, so I'm presenting this, and it's a little hard to do in a video like this, but I have a whiteboard, I'll draw some pictures and saving and stuff. So if we want to save for the emergency, and we want to save for a new car, and we want to save for a retirement, how am I going to say, I got this, how much money do I possibly have, right? So here's how to divide it up. If you have $100, this is so I can do the math in my head, right? Let's say you have $100. The most important part of that is the emergency fund. So let's take $50, put it in the emergency fund. Let's take $25, put it in vacation fund or new car fund, right? And let's take $25, put it into retirement. Good. Now we keep doing that. They're growing a little bit at a time until the emergency fund gets up to $1,000. $2,000, something like that. Now we can start shifting that money into the next two buckets. So if we put a little bit more into the vacation car fund and a little more into the retirement fund, and build those up a little bit of time. So at least you're making progress on each piece in order of its importance. That's the idea.
I like that. Now, so do you have people do affirmations or vision boards or anything related to their finances?
Yeah, it's a good question. I have
something
not.
To see. What I mean? They have those little things that tell you how far you're progressing, like for fundraisers and stuff.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I mean?
The short answer is no, but not a bad idea for some people. Yeah. I do kind of my own affirmations. I've never done a vision board. I know people who do them, and they're kind of fun to do. I've just never quite appealed to me as a thing, but I get it. Yeah, people are into that stuff. I know people.
Now, so what type of affirmations do you have? Are they just related in general to finances, or are just everything?
Oh, I have affirmations about where I want to live.
Oh,
so that's yep. And one of the things I'll just share. So I think I want to live in a house with 3 bedrooms, a pellet stove, solar, electric, and hot water heater, be on a lake, a large deck, and a nice view. That's what I want. That's what I want. Yeah. So stuff like that. I'm also part of Boy Scouts, so I have a goal for donating to Boy Scouts. So things kind of like that. So those are kind of my affirmations that I do. A whole bunch of them I write out every day. And I also have I don't want to call it, some people call it a gratitude journal, but I have a end of the day things that went well, things that, hey, this really worked out well today, or things I learned. I want to learn something new every day, and a couple things that I'm grateful for today. So, like the way that works. That's nothing to do with finance, frankly, but
I think
to have an attitude.
Yeah, I think that's a great mindset, because how often do we just go for weeks, months, years without that time of reflection? I mean, that happened for me with dealing with depression. I didn't have any time to reflect. It was just this constant cycle
Ah,
of things
yeah.
working the way they are. So, what was it that got you into that, daily reflection?
I think it's just other books and videos and things like that that have kind of and listen to different speakers in different contexts and say, "Oh, I can do that. I can do that," And I enjoy doing it. I can't say we can't like do the controlled experiment and go backwards and say, "Okay, let's not do this for 10 years and see what happens." But I enjoy doing it. If it helps me, great. If it never would have helped me, I don't care because I like doing it anyways.
I like that. Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
so I guess in closing, which this is great. I mean, lots of information that you shared with us. What advice would you give someone who's watching that has had to reinvent themselves? We have a lot of people that are transitioning out of certain industries, or they have to learn the job that they were doing in a different way with video, Zoom, and all these different things. And so, as we mature, when we're used to doing things over and over again a certain way, but we have to be flexible about changing our format. What
Yeah,
advice?
that's
Because some people are like, I'm too old for that, and it's never going to work out. What advice would you give them?
oh, well, I'm not a psychologist, but it's one of those make a decision. If you say, well, what I think it's a Henry Ford quote. If you think you can and think you can't, you're right. It's one way
I
to look
like
at it.
that.
Right. So
Hmm.
if you want to just wallow in, the job that you're never going to get back again, all right. Hey, it's your life, not mine. But not much I can help you with that. But you got to do things like you did. When I transitioned from the corporate world to food service, that was like people said I was crazy to do that.
Hmm.
And then from food service into financial services, that was another huge change. This is kind of interesting. I went from where I was living and did the food service stuff, the catering and stuff there. I got in the Chamber of Commerce and BNI and those kind of places. People knew me. I was branded as the food guy. And when I wanted to switch out of that, I would start to have conversations with those same people and say, hey, by the way, hey, I'm doing this kind of cool thing with finances and whatever. The conversations always went back to food. And I said, this is crazy. I got to do something different. So I went to an area where I'm actually living now, went to an area and I went to Chamber of Commerce and BNI and some other kind of organizations and said, hey, I kind of do finance and can I come in? And they said, sure, come on in. What the heck? I had to, in a sense, reinvent myself. I think that's a too grandiose kind of term, but
Yeah.
you just got to think differently. And I didn't realize how kind of out there it was
Right.
to do that in the first
Hmm.
place. So,
It is. Yeah.
yeah, and you gotta make that. It's making a decision to change.
I like that. And, so when you made that decision, you seem like you're very dedicated in terms of whatever you set your mind to. So, we go back and listen to you about the food industry and how,
Yeah.
it might not have made that much money, but, you were committed to it. So when someone is committing to something new, what advice would you give them about realistic goals for that? Because, it's like we have this grandiose idea. Hey, you know what? I'm going to be Oprah when I start out with my podcast, right? Instead of having, what type of goal should they be really realistically looking towards in this new vocation or something?
When I talk about goals, I really think about it as baby steps. Right?
Mhm.
You're not going to be Oprah on the second show, right?
Okay.
So, as much as you can picture that, that's a great thing to think about. And I'm not going to be the financial wizard. If I start the business today, I'm not going to be the financial wizard. That not that I am now, but just that it doesn't. Things don't happen overnight. What's a goal that you can do? A thing, an activity. Don't even think about it as a goal. What's an activity I can take one step forward? And make some progress. As you make the progress, the next step becomes a little easier. You don't take there's a quote about this, something about taking, you don't have to see the top of the staircase to take the
Right.
first step. Something
I like that.
so
I like
you
that.
know you're on the right path. Now,
Mhm.
stuff happens too, and maybe you have to weave and bob and do some other things if you get off the path. But at least you learn something new. You need, and even if the goal that you had, you don't become Oprah overnight, then maybe you can be somebody else. The next day. So
I love that.
okay.
I love the fact that you bring up the activity because, we have the goal and that's the shiny object, but we don't think about the path to get
The
there.
path
And
to get there.
yeah,
Exactly. And you
that's
need to
awesome.
be, at least for me, I
Hmm.
need to have a lot of things in between. If the goal is too big and too far away, it becomes demotivating. I get what can I do now? What can I make some progress now?
Absolutely.
I got a couple of
Great.
tips actually for holiday shopping though.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
We're
So
always ready for that.
okay, good. So here's a couple of tips. I've set a spending limit, but just
I
like
like
not an overall limit, but each person first of all figure out who you're going to give stuff to in the first place,
that.
and then put a spending limit on each person. So like, okay, mom's going to get a $75 thing. My sister's going to get $50 thing, and friends maybe $10. Whatever it is. So it's better and stick to it. Don't go
Right.
over it just because you found something. Say, oh, they would really like this.
Right.
Yeah, set a spending limit. Now, just like you should be doing all year, track all your other spending. You can easily get caught up in something new. Like if you found a thing for $50 for your sister or cousin, whoever it is, right? But you found another thing that's going to be $65 and it's on sale because it used to be $95, what? That's crazy. Stick to the limit. And it's hard. I mean, it's hard to overcome some of those emotions about giving and the relationships you have with the people that you're going to give to. But the tip I like the best actually is not just because I was in the food business, but give food. And you can give homemade gifts that are, if you can actually kind of do that. You can give gift cards to restaurants that are struggling now or catering or stuff like that. And there's also all kinds of food subscriptions, like a wine of the month and a cheese of the month and pickles of the month I found recently, actually. So those kind of things are more personal a lot of times than certainly a gift card or something. So I think that's kind of a fun way to make the holidays more personal to the people that you're giving stuff to, and you build a good relationship that and most likely costs less.
I love that.
What do you do for your gigantic crowd there, holiday wise?
Yeah, we they have a little drawing amongst all the siblings. So they pick a name, they buy only for that one person. They set their own spending limit.
Yep.
And then we just get them 3 gifts a person, like the 3 wise men, just from our biblical standpoint. But
yeah.
Even the last couple years, that's been crazy. It's been like 1 or 2, right? Because of what's going on. But we make a big deal out of their birthdays. So we've never really been big on Christmas because it just was crazy. It really is overwhelming, even getting 3 gifts a piece, because the kids always, based on their ages, like our youngest is 6 and they're stair step all the way up to 30. So just imagine a room, even if it's just 3 gifts a piece and everybody's opening it, it really is overwhelming. I don't know who got what. My mom would be here, and then later on, the kids are fighting over a toy, and it's like you didn't even see them open it up, so you don't know whose gift it was. It was crazy. So I just said, you know what? I can't take that. Then I tried to do it where we would draw names to open up their gifts one at a time. That lasted 1 year. They're like, this takes too long. If you were the last person. But at least I could enjoy the moment with them when they opened up their gifts. Now it's like, oh, mommy, you got 5 people screaming about something they got. I'm just like, This is crazy. So yeah, it really is a overwhelming experience for me.
Yeah, I bet.
So what is the best way for the audience to get a hold of you?
Oh, should we put, well, I can give my email and phone number. That's certainly a good way to do that.
Okay.
Okay, so my phone number is 845 531 9222.
Okay. I forgot to put the little dashes in there.
There we go. 531. Right, you got it.
Okay.
And my email is my real name, Howard.
Okay.
Gershman.
Okay.
At Gmail.
SHAM.
And said, no, you got it right on the video now. So it's Howard Gershman, GERSHMAN.
Okay. MAN. Okay. And I'm trying to get better.
At Gmail. You got it. Very good.
Awesome. Okay. And what final words would you like to share with the audience?
I would say, just make some progress somehow. Decide and then move forward. I was actually going to ask you, what's one good takeaway you got from our little discussion today?
I love it. To me, I think it's the thing about making a decision.
Yeah.
We stop ourselves because, we're like, well, it would be nice, or I'm thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And when you decide, you're actually making a commitment.
That's
and
right.
Once you make that commitment, then you get on the path of doing the other things that go towards getting results.
That's right.
But as long as you're kind of like on the fence and going back and forth. Yeah. You're not going to make any progress. So that was a great takeaway, because so many people sugarcoat not making a decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we call it the paralysis of analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back and move forward. Got to start somewhere, and it doesn't even matter where. It doesn't even matter how small. Just make some progress and move forward.
Absolutely. So this has just been great insight.
Yeah, I really had a good time. This is great.
Yeah, great for people to incorporate. And I really challenge everybody who's watching to reach out to Howie, because, you don't want to continue to keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. If you're looking at this time last year and seeing you're in the same space financially, you might want to consider having a conversation to do something just a little different, taking those baby steps towards what it is that you are aspiring for. So I encourage you to reach out to Howie and, just have a conversation. He could ask a question that could spark a different train of thought, which could set you on a totally different path.
And then a lot of times that's all it takes, is just another point of view, change somebody's thinking.
Absolutely. So we just want to thank you guys for watching, and have a great holiday. Make sure you make some good spending plan decisions
there you go.
over this holiday season. And we will see you on our next episode. Okay. Thanks for watching.
Nice to see everybody. Bye.
Bye.